Hi, I am Sierun Tiwari. And if you're planning to buy or sell a property in near future, this video is must for you because in this video I'm going to talk about in detail everything about property buying or purchasing in cash. This question is most asked question from a CA. Most of time people ask that, sir, can I go for a cash part while selling a property? And if yes, how much cash safely I can receive or how much cash safely I can pay? All this question. And you definitely, if you're planning to buy a property, then you will come across the sellers who may ask for a cash part or builders who may ask for a cash part, or if you're planning to sell a property, you may come across buyer who are ready to pay you cash. And definitely this question you should very well understand before getting into any kind of buying or selling property where you're receiving some part of that in cash. So let's begin. So hello friend, my name is Sierun Tiwari and generally I make video on NRI taxation topics and also on tax litigation part. I also start making video on generally the finance, the personal finance part. So I will also make at least one video every week. But here the hot topic is that if you are planning to buy a property or planning to sell a property, should you really interested in receiving or paying cash, which generally some people understand this is a norm. So this video I'm going to divide in three parts. First part I will talk about from point of view of seller. Second part I will talk about from point of view of buyer. And third part I will talk about the best idea where buyer and seller both can win without getting into cash. So let's begin. First, let's talk about the point of view of a seller. So first, let's understand why seller is interested to receive some part in cash. What is his main motive? Now, let's understand. Let's divide seller in two parts. First, seller who are reselling their property, and second, the builders. Now, builders obviously you know that lots of part they pay in cash. For example, when they buy lots of material, building material, they pay in cash. People insist to pay in cash because most of things are not on paper. People don't want to get into GST and all these things. So because they need cash, and you know also the builder have to pay a lot of things in bribery for getting approval and all. This is open facts. Nobody can deny this. And for that they need cash, so they insist getting those things in cash. So this is builder part. We are not going to discuss builder part. Let's discuss the second kind of seller, which is the reseller. I will also talk about the builder part when I will come to second part, when I will talk about point of view of buyer, that how to convince a builder to give you in complete 100% white. So let's first talk about the seller who are not a builder. The seller can be NRI, seller can be resident also. So why they expect something in cash? So first thing, because when they bought this property, they paid some part to builder in cash, and they know that that cash part they cannot show as a cost of purchase. Now, if they don't receive some part as cash, their capital gain will increase, and that means they will end up paying more taxes. That's first thing. Second thing, even suppose they have not paid something in cash, they still know that if they get something in cash and they don't show as a part of sale, they will save something called long-term capital gain. So this is the main motive. Most of the buyer, most of the seller insist some part of cash. Now, lots of time I receive this question from NRI clients that, sir, is it the norm? Because they say that we are receiving a lot of people who are interested in buying my property, but they want to offer something in cash. Now let me tell you, this is not a tradition. This is completely depend how you deal with the buyer. There are people who will give you 100% white if you demand so. I bought two property myself and I never faced this issue that people are just sticking to white, sorry, the cash part. It all depends how you are going to deal with them. Anyhow, I will explain all these things with help of some facts and figure like a calculation, that suppose if you're planning to sell a property, how much cash you should accept at first place, if you should accept, and if you should not expect, like if you are not going for white, for cash, sorry, then how much you will lose, how much you will win, everything with a calculation. So let's begin with the simple calculation which I have prepared for you. So here, as per the calculation which you can see on this sheet, I have prepared a simple calculation, and let me explain you with help of this calculation, that what will be the actual saving of the seller. So for example, suppose a seller want to sell his property for 1.5 crore, so it's in lakh, that is 1000, what is called 100,000 in US language. Suppose somebody want to sell up his property at 1.5 cr, and suppose he bought it is 100 cr, right? So suppose he goes for full white, he has to pay 6.3 lakhs taxes as a long term taxes. And if he goes for partial, for example, suppose he receive 30 lakh as a cash and he only go 1.2 crore as a white, then he will end up paying 2.5 cr. So if you see, so his saving, the total saving is approximately 3.8 cr, sorry, 3.8 lakhs. That is the saving he is going to make if he is going to deal in 30%. Now, before that, I would just want to answer one. Some people say that, so what is a safe rate or safe amount which I can receive? There is nothing called a safe rate. I will explain you in this video itself why. So this way, he saves of course 3.8 lakhs by doing this 30 lakh rupees of cash, right? Now, what is the issues he can face? So first thing is handling cash. Now, if you are an NRI, even you are a resident and you are a salaried employee, then the first issue, because generally you don't receive cash and this is a big cash for you, depositing in your bank account is going to be a big mess, especially from income tax department. Surely you're going to get a notice. Now, generally people ask, sir, what is the safest way? First thing I will say, don't go for that, because I will explain why it is not make any sense financially and legally also to accept a cash when you can go full white. The first thing, handling cash, you are going to face issues, and in that, if I say what is the first problem is a self deposit. Now, if you deposit in your account and you are not a person who has an income which generally he receive in cash, for example, you don't have a restaurant or something, it's very hard to explain somebody why and how you got this. And understand, I will tell you this again and again. If you are selling or buying a property and simultaneously you're receiving a cash in your bank account or withdrawing a cash from bank account, the income tax department will issue notice, because it will flag the system, and they will surely going to add this as a income from unaccounted sources, and both buyer and seller both have to pay taxes, which I will explain you later. But surely it's a way to draw attention of income tax department if these two activity like cash, property sale happening in a similar timeline, and whatever explanation you're going to offer, they are not going to buy it. Now, second thing, people generally say, sir, what if I deposit in my relative account or my parents account, like 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs in different account? Now, the things you understand, right? If you deposit in your relative's account, they have to also show in your income tax somehow, even 5 lakh rupees. It's not a big amount, but it's not a small amount also. So what they're going to offer, they're going to show as a either loan or as a income. Now, if they're going to offer as a loan, so first thing, cash loan is not allowed. It is in India, there is a sections which categorically decline that you should not receive more than 10,000 rupees as a cash loan. Now 10,000 is nothing. So first thing, they will have issue if they show as a loan. If they show as an income, and even consider that your relative or friends or whoever fall in middle line of tax rate, for example 20% they are paying, just for example, then they will end up paying 20%. How much you save taxes? 12.5%, because that is the rate on long term capital gain. So you save 12.5%, your relatives or people friends will end up paying 20%. Really it makes sense financially? I feel no. Now, second thing, already told, cash deduction. If you deposit cash in your bank, it's short a recipe for disaster. You are inviting income tax department to you, which is definitely not good for you. um, third issue which you can face if you are an NRI, that you will, if you're putting money here and suppose somehow you are shifting money abroad, first thing, you need 15 CACB from a CA, and CA will not give 15 CACB for cash part. He will only issue us a 15 CACB for white part, because he definitely do not want to certify something which should not be done at first place. So without getting 15 CACB, you cannot take money from your local bank account to your foreign bank account. Even you deposited in your bank account in India, either it's NRO or NRE, whatever. Generally, you should deposit your money in NRO account only. Even suppose you able to deposit, somehow you got something and you transfer money abroad, you have to explain the other part of tax authority also, that where you got this money, because this money is not from officially not from selling property. So these are all issues you can face. I will come definitely on the solution part also, because I never make video where I only explain the issues. So just wait for that. In third part I will explain what you can do to save your taxes. Now coming back to again my calculation, what the buyer is going to save. So why buyer are inclined to deal in cash when buying property? So first part, maybe they have sold a property where they got a cash, so they are sitting on cash. So they feel instead of depositing that into a bank account, which definitely will raise the alarm to income tax, they can pay it to the seller where they're buying the new property. This can be one scenario. Second scenario can be where they want to save the stamp duty. So the only saving for buyers are stamp duty. Now, how much is stamp duty? 6 or 7% max. So suppose in same example, if they pay something 30 lakh rupees in cash, then they will end up saving something called 2.1 lakh rupees. That is the saving they are expecting. Now, for saving this 2.1 lakh, how much problems they can get into? Let me explain that. So the first thing, I will divide buyer's problem, which they are going to they can face immediately, and a problem which they will face in future. Now, what is the problem they are going to face now? First thing, cash withdrawal, same problem. If buyer is going to withdraw from their bank, buyer and seller both are going to get into issue, because the income tax department has this system. Now let me explain here also how income tax department will come to know that you bought a property. It's very easy. When you register a property, registrar every month file an income tax return. Yeah, they also have to file an income tax return, but they don't declare their income. They declare how many properties there are registered under their jurisdiction, their market value and stamp duty value. That all the information with buyer and seller's pan card is filed with income tax department. So income tax department, their system comes to know, okay, these are the sale has happened. That's how the cash. And also the bank, your bank has to also file an income tax return, where if you're withdrawing more than 10 lakh rupees, in certain limit, certain cases it is less than, or they feel some transactions are not good or suspected, they have to file a return with income tax department where they will mention all these things, that how much cash has been withdrawn. So if any account which generally doesn't withdraw a lot of cash and all of a sudden they withdraw a lot of cash, it is flagged by the bank to the income tax department. This is how they get the information. Of course, like lots of people feel that always they're sitting on your bank account. No, it's not the case. The income tax department doesn't have access to your bank account always. They only can get access to your bank account on when they are when you are under a party of interest, when they suspect something, right? And same way they get your information for buying or selling property. So when these two things comes together, they're going to be a spark for short, and buyer and seller both can definitely can feel the heat. Now second problem they can face, uh, which is under income tax section 5610B, which basically mention that if you receive a property which is less than stamp duty value by, and the difference is more than 50,000 rupees or 10% of the fair market value, then the buyer the buyer will be considered that he received that property for free, and that much difference amount he has to show as income from other sources. For example, here, suppose the fair market value of that particular property is actually 1.5 cr. For example, buyer got it for 1.2 cr on paper. So income tax department will assume that 30 lakhs rupees of property he got for free without consideration. So the buyer has to pay taxes on that 30 lakh rupees, and 30 lakh rupees will be added as an income from other sources. Now suppose if buyer falls under 30% category of, like, his tax rate is 30%, he will end up paying 30% tax on 30 lakh rupees. How much is actually saved? Just 6 or 7%. How much is paying now? 30% on that. Really it makes sense for buyer? I feel no. Now another important part which seller has to consider, because I have faced myself that issue, is the buying capacity of buyer reduces by paying cash. For example, suppose if he buy a property of, say, full white for by paying 1.5 cr, then if he go for loan, he can get 80% of loan of that amount, which is 1.5 cr. Now suppose if you're asking, seller is asking for, say, 30 lakh rupees cash, so on paper the property value is 1.2 crore only, and the buyer will receive loan for only 1.2 crore, sorry, 80% of 1.2 crores. Hope you understand what I'm saying. So basically he should have 30 lakh cash plus he should pay 20% of 1.2 crore plus stamp duty. So he should be sitting at least, I think, 60-70 lakh rupees to buy a property of 1.5 lakhs, 1.5 cr. So this issue even I face, because when I was in market first time for buying a property, I don't have any issue paying EMI. I don't have any issue paying the down payment. But most of some cases, people were asking for cash. Now, when I was thinking to pay the cash, the problem is this: if I have to pay cash, plus I have to pay down payment, plus I have to pay stamp duty, my budget was, I was out of budget. Like I cannot buy a property, and I really have to downgrade myself. So this is also happen. Another problem which buyer faces, because suppose he somehow manage all these things, his liquid fund, or you can say emergency fund, erode like anything. So in my case, when I bought first property, you will not believe, I was almost like a minus 13 lakh. Now you'll ask how you can become a minus 13 lakh. I was practicing CA, like I was practicing that time also. So what happened, there was earlier, there was some part was coming as an advance from our client for the work which we have not completed. So I generally, at that time, 13 lakh was the pending work which I have to complete. Like I have not billed, but I received as advance and I used that. That's how I purchased my first property. So it's request to all seller also, please consider this on a humanitarian ground, that if you can really do without cash, and you should do, because it makes sense always. So do it, because then you will helping buyer, maybe he's a first time buyer, to get his first house. Now, this is all problem buyer going to face now, immediately after buying property. What is the problem he's going to face in the future? In future, he's going to face that, suppose in future he is going to sell this property which he bought now, and it's obvious that if you are facing issue now to get cash, because slowly India is becoming less cash economy. So if somebody asks me to arrange for 50,000 rupees, it's very difficult, because most of time you go, now this ATM doesn't work, or if they work, maximum you can withdraw 40,000 rupees. So suppose somebody has to withdraw 30-40 lakh, of course there is a risk, but somehow he manages. You can understand how much effort he has to put. Now if you talk 5 years after the like in the future, it will be definitely more difficult, because there is no reason to withdraw such a large amount except paying for cash. So in that case, what happened? Definitely he will not get any buyer who will be ready to pay him cash. So he will have only one option, that he will go for full white. Now, if buyer has already paid 30 lakh rupees as a cash, that will not consider as a part of purchase. And you can understand, he has to pay taxes on total sale value minus the purchase value, which is in white. That means his capital gain will increase by 30 lakh. That means he will end up paying 12.5% on 30 lakh rupees. So he's saving now 7%, and he end up paying 12.5% in future. So does it make sense for buyer also? No. And plus, he's making his white money unnecessarily a black money at this point. So these are some issues which most of you are going to face, and this is what I explained here also in my calculation. Now, of course, if the video is not complete until I tell you some ideas how you can legally save taxes without getting into this white and black thing. And this is not a custom, this is a misjudgment about India. I bought myself two properties, both properties completely in white. When you explain to seller or buyer these all benefits, and like benefit I don't understand, but negative points which can come into, I know most of sane people will agree for that. I cannot talk about builders because they have work on a different economy. But if you are going for resale, then definitely people will understand and they will happily agree to deal completely in 100% white. Now I know this video is slightly extending, but I hope if you watch this video, this part will be completely crystal clear for both buyer and seller. So let's consider the third part, which is what is the best idea. Let's talk about some best ideas for buyer to reduce his taxes legally. So first thing, for seller, some expenses are allowed to reduced from his sale value. What are these expenses? Brokerage. If you paid brokerage either at time of buying or at the time of selling, you can reduce, provided you paid that brokerage by bank and you ask him either to give a receipt or give an invoice. These two things very important to claim the expenses. Second thing, you can claim traveling expenses. Now, this is good news for NRIs. So, if you're traveling even from abroad only for the purpose of selling the property, the whole expenses, including flight expenses, hotel expenses, staying expenses, everything you can charge as expenses for selling property, provided you have a bill and you paid through banks. cash is not allowed here also, right? Now legal expenses, if you're like appointing or you are consulting a CA or a lawyer for this purpose, so of course whatever legal expenses you're paying you can claim as expenses. And the most important part, you can also claim expenses if you have done any kind of improvement, in legal, in the title improvement or something. What is called title improvement? For example, suppose there is some illegal people have holding your asset, or say there is some encroachment around your property. If you remove that, you have done some expense in that, you can claim that. Plus you can claim any expenses which you have done for improvement in that property. For example, improvement means not denting and painting. Improve, added another floor after you bought this, or you have done a big like maybe interior where you spend quite some money, you can reduce all this cost from your sale price legally, so you don't have to resort to taking money in cash. Now what is not allowed for as a deduction? Interest on home loan. I got a lot of time this question. So if you're paying interest, it is a financial cost, it is not allowed to be reduced from your sale price. Second, if you paid anything in cash, you have not received any bill, even you paid, I believe you, but government will not believe you, so you are not allowed to deduct those expenses. The expenses which are in personal nature, right? Then some like denting, painting, repair, maintenance cost, this is not allowed deducted because this is considered as a revenue expenses, not capital expenses. So that is society charges, all these are not allowed as expenses. Now one more idea I want to give you, like you can do also a separate agreement for furniture and fixture. So suppose you have done like 10-15 lakh you spend for interior and all, and you have proper bills for that, you can create an agreement, separate agreement with buyer, where buyer can pay you separately. On that separate agreement, buyer don't have to pay stamp duty and you don't have to pay capital gain, because generally these furniture fixture are considered as a depreciating asset, and on depreciating asset generally there is no capital gain arises. So this is also one idea where you can save a lot of taxes without going for cash. Now let's talk something about buyer, what buyer can do, because his pain point is one only, and that is stamp duty. So first point, if buyer want to register here that property on the wife name or the joint name, so in some states, not all the states, but some states, if you register property on woman name, the stamp duty already become half. Some places it is 3%, some places 4%. So you can definitely take a benefit of that. Second thing, what you can do, you can talk to seller. Now if seller, most of cases if seller is NRI, he definitely do not want to get into this cash and white part. So what you can negotiate with him, like he can share some part of this stamp duty burden from you, and it happens, I advise lots of time, because for him sharing some part of stamp duty makes more sense than dealing in cash. So you can just explain all things, maybe if it's a 7%, he can pay 3%, you can pay 4%, both are happy. So this way legally you can reduce the capital gain tax, and you can also reduce the stamp duty payable for buyer and seller both. So hope friend, this is a slightly long video, I know, but I answered all the question. And if you consider, if you explain this point, if you send this video to buyer and seller and they watch it fully, most of them will be aware. Now of course there can be exceptions where people are habitual in dealing in cash, they may have this kind of business, or they are like maybe some politically connected people, I can't comment about them, but normal law abiding citizen like us will agree to deal in full white happily if they watch this video once. So that's all video, that's all friends. If you have any other question related to property sale, tax on property, please contact me. Please put your question in the comment section, either me or my team will come back. Soon I'm going to make video on one of my favorite strategy, investment strategy, and it's not a trading, it's a long-term strategy. I'm going to make soon, just wait for that. That's all in this video. Thank you, have a nice day.